few years ago, I moved to West Virginia when I got a job as a state trooper. I didn't have ties anywhere else, and the idea of wide open land and quiet roads drew me in. Or at least, that's how it seemed at first. But the truth is, this place isn't as peaceful as it looks from the outside. Sure, there are postcard-worthy mountains and breathtaking views, but beneath all that beauty lies something strange, sad, and dangerous. Things people around here don't like to talk about. As a trooper, your duties go far beyond writing tickets or watching school zones. You become a medic, a counselor, a mediator. I once helped deliver a baby on the side of the road, and another time I pulled a body from a ravine so old it barely looked human anymore. Over time, the fear fades, but it leaves a mark on your mind. I always dealt with the pressure by driving. Didn't matter where. Just turned on an old playlist, hit the back roads, and let the miles pull the weight out of my chest. That's how I stumbled into a local car enthusiasts group. Nothing official, just a handful of gearheads who loved driving and swapping stories. Among them was a guy named Logan, or at least I thought that was his name. The Logan I knew was laid back, sharp-looking, always smelled of motor oil and leather conditioner. He spent more time under the hood of his tuned Honda than he did sleeping. We went for a drive one night along the Blue Ridge Parkway. Fog rolled over the road like smoke, headlights catching glimpses of deer in the brush, tires humming against the asphalt. It was the kind of drive that makes you forget the chaos of the world. We agreed to do it again. Weeks later, I got a message. Been a while. You free for a drive? I assumed it was Logan. I had the weekend off, so I set a time. The reply came back fast. Perfect. Let's make it a little trip. Maybe hike a trail. I froze for a second. Logan wasn't the hiking type. He used to joke the only mountains he liked were the ones under his tires. That's when I noticed. Different number, different profile picture. It wasn't Logan from the car group. It was someone else. A guy I'd met 5 or 6 years earlier at a messy festival full of cheap beer and fleeting friendships. He was a photography student back then, into abandoned buildings and landscapes. We'd kept in loose touch. Instagram comments, the occasional music recommendation. That was it. I should have backed out, but something, guilt, boredom, maybe a need for something different, made me say yes. We picked a trail near the Tennessee border. I met him at a bus station in Marion. I almost didn't recognize him. His hair was long and tangled, his beard uneven, like he hadn't cared in a while. He wore a heavy, battered work jacket and mud-caked boots. His backpack looked like it had been dragged through a swamp. And he smelled, a mix of sweat, damp fabric, and dirt. But when he saw me, he smiled, eyes lighting up. Man, it's been a long time. I nodded, told him to toss his bag in the back. We stopped at a supply store, grabbed water, protein bars, a lighter, just the basics. That's when he suggested a different trail, said it was better, a hidden gem not on the maps, supposedly followed a creek, great for photos. I checked GPS. It was real, just remote. I'd been to worse places. I wasn't worried. We drove out past cell towers and gas stations until the road turned to dirt, parked by an old collapsing barn, nothing more than leaning beams and a broken fence. The trailhead wasn't even a trail, just an opening in the woods choked with briars. No sign, no phone service. He led the way. At first it was quiet and strangely beautiful, like time had forgotten the place. He talked the whole way, not really to me, more like thinking out loud about jobs he'd had, kitchens, landscaping, construction, about how his girlfriend left him, about how people didn't understand staying connected to the earth. Then, as we stepped over a fallen log, he asked, "If someone betrayed you out here, how would you handle it?" He said it casually, like asking about the weather. I kept my voice calm. Stay quiet. Watch. Make sure there's an exit. He nodded, said nothing else, kept walking. That's when the unease set in. We passed a rusted machine, maybe part of an old mill. The trail dipped into a hollow, opening into a clearing with a half-collapsed structure, moss-covered, rotting. Maybe a mine, maybe a mill. In the middle was a fire ring with makeshift seating from old rail beams. "This is it," he said. I dropped my pack, started unpacking lunch, told him to grab some firewood. He opened his bag. Instead of wood, he pulled out rope, then a hatchet, then a survival knife, serrated, long. He laid them out carefully, like he was preparing for more than just a campfire. I didn't move, just watched. Quietly, I opened my own folding knife and set it next to the food. He looked at it, looked at me, smiled faintly. "Oh, you brought one too." That's when I knew. He hadn't expected me to be prepared. He stood, hatchet in hand, and walked into the trees. I stayed standing, ears straining, every noise crawling up my spine. He came back with branches in one arm, hatchet still in the other. He stared at me. "I'm sorry," he said. I clenched my fist. "Sorry we're out here alone with knives," he added. He stepped closer. Just one step. "Maybe we should hug," he said. I kept my voice steady. "Number. Let's build the fire, eat, and recharge." He stared for a long moment, then turned and went back into the trees. That was it. I started packing fast. Told him the wood was too wet. We should head back before the weather turned. He didn't argue, just nodded, quieter now, mumbling about betrayal, about people using him. I kept myself between him and the trees all the way back. At the trailhead, 2 families with kayaks were unloading a trailer. I didn't hide my relief. He asked, "You driving me back?" I shook my head. "I've got a call. Gotta go. Sorry." He just nodded, didn't blink, didn't move. I got in my car, drove until I hit a busy road, then pulled into a gas station. Sat there for nearly an hour, engine running, doors locked. That night, I blocked his number, but I didn't delete the messages. I called someone who knew him better, told him everything, the knives, the questions, the apology. He listened, then said, Logan, yeah, the real Logan, had been in a bad place. Withdrew from everyone, stopped answering his family. Rumors of a breakdown. Weeks later, I heard he was in treatment, on meds, trying to get better. I was genuinely glad, but I also meant every word when I told myself over and over on the drive home, I'll never let him in my car again. Not here, not anywhere. 3 years ago, something happened that I've never shared outside my closest circle of everything. But it's real. I was there, and I saw everything. It all started when my best friend, his grandfather. The thing looked ancient, rust spots, cracked windows, but it still ran fine. We were in our early 20s, drained from college life and desperate for something to break the routine. So we decided to take a trip. No plans, no reservations, just the idea of heading into the Appalachian Mountains. Caleb said he wanted to see the stars without city lights. I agreed, and our other friend Jonah joined in. We packed some food, grabbed a speaker, and hit the road. The first days were incredible. Empty roads, small towns, thick forests. Every time our phones lost signal, it felt like we were leaving the world behind. No notifications, no responsibilities. Just us and the mountains. On the third night, we stopped near the start of a trail in western North Carolina. Caleb mentioned the town's name once, but we later forgot it. We parked, opened some beers under the stars, and he told us about a secret spot locals called the harrowing. He marked it on his phone before the signal dropped. Bored and looking for adventure, we decided to check it out around 11:30 p.m. The road quickly narrowed, trees closing in on both sides. No houses, no streetlights, just our headlights cutting through the dark. Jonah was asleep in the back, Caleb drove, and I watched the road. Suddenly, two figures appeared in front of us. Caleb slammed the brakes, tires screeching. We stopped just inches away from a woman and a small barefoot child. The woman wore a heavy black shawl, like funeral clothes. Neither of them moved. They didn't flinch at the headlights, didn't react at all, as if we weren't even there. Caleb muttered, "What the hell? Is this real?" My stomach dropped. I pulled out my phone, but the GPS showed nothing. Just a blue dot floating in endless green. We kept driving, shaken and silent. Eventually, we reached the location. There was an open dirt lot with 5 or 6 campers. To our surprise, the place wasn't quiet. It was chaos. People running with flashlights, shouting, a woman sobbing. A child was missing. A frantic couple rushed over. The mother begged, "Please, have you seen a little boy?" Blonde, 3 years old, in pajamas? Something twisted in my chest. Caleb and I exchanged a look, then checked the dash cam. When the woman saw the footage, she collapsed into tears. "That's Jacob. That's our son." They begged us to take them back to the spot we'd seen him. Caleb turned the camper around. 3 cars followed. On the way back, Jonah woke up, asking what was going on. We didn't answer. I scanned the roadside obsessively until I saw him, curled up near a drainage pipe, crying. His parents ran to him, scooping him up. He was scared, cold, but unharmed. The police arrived shortly after. They said it looked like a kidnapping attempt, but no one could explain how someone had entered the campground unnoticed, or how the boy ended up a mile away. When they asked Jacob what happened, he said a lady took his hand, told him to come with her, promised to bring him back soon. Then she left him by the road and vanished into the woods, telling him to stay quiet. We gave the dashcam footage to the police. 2 weeks later, they returned it without evidence, no suspects. But I can still see her face. She smiled in the video, but it wasn't a real smile. It was wrong, unnatural, like someone had told her what a human smile should look like, but she didn't quite understand. A year later, I went back to that road, half convinced I had imagined it. But the turn was gone. The trees had swallowed everything. The trailhead no longer existed. The lot was chained off. Even the coordinates Caleb saved had vanished from his phone. No pin, no history. It was as if the place had never existed at all.